the mind's war between what hurts and what we want to believe. There comes a moment in certain relationships where your mind begins to split itself into two conflicting realities, the one you see and the one you need to believe in order to stay. Cognitive dissonance is the clash between those two worlds, a psychological tension so profound that it can distort your reasoning, weaken your identity, and make you defend the very person who is harming you. It is not stupidity. It is not weakness. It is the mind's attempt to survive emotional contradiction. Cognitive dissonance often begins the moment the person who once treated you with affection, warmth, and validation begins to behave in ways that contradict who you believed they were. When the kindness you experienced at the beginning is replaced by inconsistency, disregard, manipulation, or emotional distance, your mind does not immediately accept the change. Instead, it works to protect the emotional attachment by rationalizing the behavior, because accepting the truth would require dismantling the emotional meaning of the relationship. And the human mind is wired to preserve meaning, even at the cost of truth. So you tell yourself that maybe they are stressed, maybe you misunderstood, maybe you are being sensitive, maybe it's temporary, maybe it was your fault. The mind begins to create explanations not because they are logical or accurate, but because they allow you to avoid the pain of acknowledging that the person who once felt safe is now a source of psychological harm. The attachment stays intact. The identity you formed around the relationship stays intact. And the cost is your clarity. This is where the internal war intensifies. Your emotions register the hurt. Your mind denies it. Your body holds the stress. So you remain in a state of mental negotiation, constantly reinterpreting events to protect the bond. You remember the best moments with sharp clarity and minimize or excuse the worst ones. You hold on to potential instead of reality. You cling to who the person was rather than who they are now. And slowly, your judgment becomes compromised. Cognitive dissonance is not simply confusion. It is self-preservation turned against you. The mind experiences psychological pain when beliefs and reality conflict, so instead of changing the belief, it bends the reality. You begin to internalize the harm. You may feel responsible for their emotional distance. You may feel guilty for having needs. You may begin to believe that your emotional reactions are irrational or excessive. The more dissonance you experience, the more you adjust yourself to reduce it. And that is how manipulation sustains itself, not through force, but through your own attempts to make sense of the contradiction. Over time, the dissonance changes you. You speak less to avoid conflict. You ask for less to avoid disappointment. You expect less to avoid pain. You shrink, not because you lack strength, but because you have been conditioned to believe that your needs disrupt the connection. But the truth is simple and difficult at the same time. The person you are defending no longer exists. You are protecting a memory, a beginning, an image, a story your mind is afraid to release. The way out of cognitive dissonance is not through trying harder, loving more, or understanding deeper. It is through the painful act of allowing both truths to exist side by side. You can love someone and also acknowledge that they are harming you. You can miss someone and still recognize that staying destroys you. You can remember the good and still walk away because the good is no longer real. Clarity does not come from emotion. It comes from seeing the pattern without explaining it away. So now I'll ask you something not to expose you, but to free you. Have you ever stayed because your mind could not accept that the person you loved had already disappeared? Share your experience in the comments. Your voice might be the mirror someone else needs to recognize their own dissonance. Share this video if you know someone who is trapped between what they feel and what they cannot admit. Subscribe and activate notifications, and stay with me here in Obscure Mindscapes, where we turn emotional darkness into awareness and pain into knowledge. And if you want to understand the psychological mechanics behind attachment, reality distortion, emotional conditioning, and identity erosion, click the link in the description and get my book, Dark Psychology and Manipulation, because the mind will try to protect the story, even when the story is what's breaking you. But the moment you allow yourself to see reality clearly, you begin to return to yourself.